comfy? Do you want to?
I'm fine.
Yeah, no, good.
I've damaged my shoulders, not you.
Good to go. Tristan, you ready? Clap us in. Right, welcome to another episode of RecTalk. We've got Chester and Adam in today from SupplyIN2. How you doing, guys? You okay?
Fine.
Yeah, really
thanks.
good, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming down.
Looking forward to this.
Found us all right. Not too far of travel, was it for you guys?
Yeah, back and beyond, but yeah, we got there. Sat navs are pretty good nowadays, aren't they?
I'm a Brummie, so I know.
You're local, aren't you? Yeah.
I'm local, so I know where you were.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and to be fair though, I mean, in sort of like in the BD world anyway, it's always very much kind of out there meeting clients and all that sort of stuff. So for the most part, it's about being on the road, isn't it? Well, you've got the north covered and you've got the south covered, so
pretty much.
Yeah. Good to be in the middle then. Yeah. So guys, SupplyIN2, right? That's your gig, right? So SupplyIN2, tell us about it. What is SupplyIN2?
Yeah, great question. So I'm the owner-founder of the business, and I spotted in the pandemic that cost was going to be a real contributing factor to a recruiter. And I really wanted to launch something to sort of consolidate their variable costs that a recruiter would look to outsource at some stage in their journey. So in my early days, because of my past history, I had a lot of connections in the back office payroll world, but also I did a couple of stints in the SaaS market. So I understood the front, middle and back tech stack.
Okay. And
all of a sudden, as I was sort of growing this, a lot of other suppliers were gravitating towards me and wanted to have a chat to see, what were you doing? How are you going about this? And what were you saying to the recruiter to help them? So I hit upon the fact that a lot of recruiters concentrate primarily on that front of house, which is client retention, candidate retention,
sales,
and making sure
stuff they're good at.
That the business
which is why they're set up in the first place.
Making sure the business is going to survive, because that's ultimately what your bread and butter is. And what they forgot about and delegated perhaps to office managers or ops people, great people. They've got to do the day job, but you've now given them another responsibility to go out there and source these suppliers. So they're a little bit like rabbit in the headlights. What they're going to do, they're going to go onto Google, they're going to put, can anyone recommend on LinkedIn this? And then bombarded, overwhelmed, get too much sales and business development.
Well, then you end up going with the product that's got the best sales team, don't they? Let's be honest.
You do, or a household name that you know.
Yeah,
but
there's some cracking products out there that people just haven't heard of, because they haven't got a strong sales presence or team.
Actually,
they never get a foot in.
They ain't got the time to go out and look at every single product out there. So I mean, if we're talking sort of CRMs, for argument's sake, there's flipping hundreds out there.
It's a minefield. It's a minefield, CRMs.
So the business was born on this consultative approach. Why don't we build a procurement approach to, we will act as your conduit between you as the business owner or the ops or whoever's in charge of outsourcing and the supplier. So we actually work as that relationship to make sure that there's a fit. And it actually, we can look to save costs rather than time and resources.
So would it be fair to say that you're almost sort of like an outsourced procurement setup, so an extension of the business as their procurement department?
That's exactly what it is.
Exactly right.
A couple of the projects that we've won recently, we get clients coming to us and saying, we need help with this, a range of third-party services. So anything that's not a fixed cost, it's not bolted down, that will come and say, we need help with our legal entity contracts, CRM, social media, web design, invoice financing, back office support, outsourced payroll. And typically when I'm talking to the client, they like that experience in that field, where to go. So with someone who's got like 20, being an old person, at 20 odd years experience,
seasoned, I believe they call it.
Seasoned,
that's a better way,
And so I've got that experience of understanding what's out there in the market. The key thing as well for us is we don't recommend any product or service that we don't know well. So we get into the detail, we get on the demonstrations with the product, with the supplier, and we get to understand it intimately.
I mean, that's a lot of time. There's thousands of products out there.
But if you're acting as a consultancy and someone comes to you and says, I want A, and you can't give them the answer to A, B, C, D, and E, you're not doing your job right. They're coming to us because they need help and support.
Yeah.
So with that then, if you've demoed a product, so let's say we're in the market for a CRM, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying to both of you guys, right? So Jess or Adam, I need it to run my temps. I need timesheet access. I need it to connect to Sage. I need an ability to be able to log perm invoices, KPI reporting, blah 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 blah. My list goes on, right? And I will want bells, whistles. I'll want everything, right? Because I'm a diva like that. And at the end of it, you come back with the fact that because you guys have been set up now for what, a few years?
Coming into our third year.
Third year, okay. So in that time, you would have demoed quite a few products on behalf of your clients anyway, right?
Yeah.
So is it a case that you demo every single time for the client, or are you in a situation where you're like, well, I've already demoed insert CRM here, so I know that this can have, it's got all the functionalities that you need?
Great question. So what we do is we take that brief, we go to the suppliers that we're probably familiar with, that we've had similar experiences tailored to that brief. But we'll always put forward at least 2, maybe 3 to come on, and we sit on those demos with them. So the point of us being there is that we would probably spot some questions that you would have had, or you may have missed out during the demo that they may not know the answer right now of. So we're making those notes on their behalf, because if they're
could
demoing,
be information overload or whatever, and you're like, hang on, you haven't asked about that.
Correct. So what we're trying to do is miss out all of the stuff that was probably going to now drag on for a little bit longer, that you may have forgotten, that you've seen on the demo, going, oh, I like that. I wonder if that can do this and that can do that. So we spot that as well.
Okay.
So this is where we're trying to make sure that that relationship is watertight before you've even signed any agreements, any terms and conditions, or spent any money in terms of investment. So we're trying to protect you and protect the suppliers to make sure that there's a match.
Which is what the responsibility of a procurement department would be, though, right? So if you're looking at an internal procurement department, you're setting up PSLs, all that sort of stuff, before you even go down that route, you want to get a full understanding of what that product is.
Correct. And the key to this is we go through a series of due diligence questions with the recruitment owner. And one of the things I ask them is, what's your current terms of business? What's your contract end date? Can you get out of this without it costing you money? And they haven't thought of that.
Because again, they're recruiters, aren't they? First and foremost,
and they go, I said, you need to check your contract. You know, how can I get out of this in a proper professional way? And some of them overlook that before they've even made a decision on the next one.
That in itself is a skill set, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this is exactly.
So we're quite seasoned in kind of getting out of contracts when we need to.
Our complaints process
we've been
is
let
pretty
down
solid.
by a lot of our third party suppliers. I mean, we've changed accountants in the first year or 2 years of setting it up. When it was just the two of us. We changed accountants 3 times.
Yeah.
Fourth if you count the guy who said who
signed us up and then didn't,
and then never sent any engagement paperwork through to us. And
in all fairness, though, one of those was because the guy moved to like a different part of the world.
Fine. No, but like the point is, we got very good very quickly at kind of being able to look at an agreement and be like, well, you've breached that. The service level agreement was
exactly.
this. I'm out of this. I can get out of this, which is why we managed to get out of a CRM contract, which was supposed to be for 5 years after month 4.
Exactly.
Because it just wasn't doing what it was doing.
It wasn't
but that takes time and energy and effort. So in a scenario like we've engaged with you guys have gone off and you've brought me my new supplier for whatever it might be. And for whatever reason, either I've missed it, you've missed it, we've collectively missed it, and it's not serving purpose anymore. Are you still my consultancy? Are you still my outsourced procurement team? And are you going to go and talk to that supplier on my behalf and say, we're out?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
We don't leave the process.
No.
Because if we fix the particular solution or problem or service, you'll use us again.
Because it's not just CRMs, is it?
No,
it's because it's everything.
Well, it's
isn't
everything. They've got your outsourced payroll, software and tech, employee engagements, which is a big one for, again, growing SMEs. That's
retention,
massive. Yeah. Look, on that then, so employee engagements.
Yep.
You must be getting a lot of, because there's a lot of talk on things like LinkedIn and stuff where a lot of the Gen Z guys are like, free fruit and gym access is not a perk.
Yeah.
Working from home is not a perk.
Yeah.
So
like what employee engagement platforms, what are they doing now to really kind of push?
Yeah, what is now considered a perk?
Yeah,
Great,
because
great.
if an on-site gym isn't a perk, if a pool table isn't a perk, if a beanbag isn't a perk anymore, fresh tea and coffee and fruit and breakfast runs isn't a perk, leaving early isn't a perk anymore, and all these things that our generation would have been like, oh my god, have you heard that business over there lets you do this?
In answer to that question, one of our providers who's really good in this space offer mental well-being and doctor's GP appointments. On-call doctor. So
we do this for our temps. All our temps run through.
So it's on an app on your phone. Is
this Hive 360?
No.
Right, so that's who we use for our temps.
Okay, so what happens is, and I've got a living example of this as well, an individual needed to get a doctor's appointment, couldn't get one for 3 weeks. Said, why don't I use my employee engagement platform?
Yeah.
Within an hour, got an appointment online, obviously, and picked the prescription up 2 hours later. So,
whilst also getting things like discounts on their shopping and all that sort of stuff, right?
Fuel, discount, shopping. Mental health, well-being as well is a really key point. So it's a bit bigger than just having a gym.
So is this what employees are asking for? Because off camera, you said, look, our process when we're consulting with our business owners doesn't start with the business owner. It starts with the nitty gritty, the people on the ground. Right? You're sitting down, you're talking to the staff and going,
absolutely.
All right, if fresh fruit and an early Friday finish is no longer a perk for you, well, what do you want? What
else is there?
Is this what they're asking for?
Yeah, also investing in the business. So they want shares, they want options to become a sort of value-added member of staff.
Okay.
That's becoming increased. It's not anything new, by the way, but if you invest in your staff, they'll stay. So if you're offering some divvies and some share options for them to be as part of their business, you're going to grow this together because there's an incentive to come to work.
Skin in the game, isn't there?
Yeah.
All our guys want is new chairs. And they're not fucking having them.
Which you guys can help us with, right?
but a lot of people, they don't want a lot. They just want to be valued.
Yeah.
Even if you just said, thanks for doing a great job, guys, which a lot of you guys do. But the problem I've found with talking to business owners is the hardest thing is retaining staff.
Yeah.
Because they're so tempted by that shiny apple down the road. And recruiters, when they get a good name for themselves as a top biller, they're like a massive,
Oh, they're inboxed all the time.
They are absolutely
We've started pre-warning them at sort of training stage that, listen, you will get approaches left, right and centre.
Yeah.
Engage with them if you want to, if you're not unhappy or whatever, but talk to us before you do kind of anything. Don't go kind of behind the scenes and sort of feel that you have to do that. We're a very kind of open business, but also bear in mind that you're not a unique approach for that rec to rec or agency owner. Like these guys are firing out messages all day long.
Yeah.
But don't forget, it's an extension into your temps and your candidates. We want them to stay and keep coming back to you. And this employment platform that we're engaged with looks at all of their benefits and welfare and everything else. So you're not getting them with the temptation of who, they're probably signed up to 3 or 4 recruiters. Don't ever think they're just with one. And we all know that in this room.
Absolutely.
And if that agency down the road is finding jobs far quicker than you can, they're going to keep going back to those people for the renewal of contract. But they're also going to look at what are you doing for me in terms of added value and added extra benefits. So again, this is all about cost. Decreasing the worker churn is a big word that's being used out there quite a lot. Decreasing those people that are being tempted to go with somebody else because you're just not keeping that, you're just treating them as a number rather than a value. And you've got
to save it. It's hard to do, though, isn't it?
But actually on that as well, though, do you not think then, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here for a second, but are employees not then also using businesses as a number? Because on the other side of it, businesses aren't being valued either, right? Because if the entire process is, well, no, but what are you doing for me? There's almost no offset with, okay, but then what are you bringing back? Yeah, what are you bringing to the table, right?
So it's almost like we're in a world right now where, as an employee, just turning up is enough. Me being here, you should be grateful for that because I've got so many other options. That seems to be the general kind of feel with a lot of the people we've interviewed recently when we're kind of growing and scaling the team. Is almost like, okay, well, what are you bringing to the table? We can give you all of these different perks that you want. Yeah. What are you doing for us, short of attending? Because that's all I see the value.
But I think the idea and the methodology that a job is for life is no longer.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not.
And if you can only retain people for as long as they want to be retained.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Too right. Yeah, too right.
If there's a shiny new apple down the road that they want to go to, the question is going to be why?
Mm.
Why do they want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that you're not offering to retain that person? Now, churn's also a good thing. Attrition is a good thing for your business. You're getting in new blood with fresh ideas who are going to challenge the business norm. So I'm quite okay with that, providing it's a win-win on both sides.
So would that be the same principle then in terms of the procurement element as well then? So are you happy to see churn so long as it's obviously for the right reasons?
Yes and no. So the SupplyIN2 brand, and the reason why I chose it is that I wanted to perfect it in the recruitment sector first. So SupplyIN2 recruitment is the first where we've lived.
Iteration of it.
It's our sort of background, our forte. We understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I wanted to do is pick out the Into brand here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Into brand is where I've really wanted to take this as a sort of household brand in the future. But what's stopping us doing SupplyIN2 construction, SupplyIN2 retail, SupplyIN2 care? So we look at the procurement.
Outside of recruitment specific things like the payroll piece and the CRM piece and that kind of stuff, there's a lot of stuff there that would add value to a lot of other businesses, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So why can't we be an extension of your SME recruiter? So don't just be a recruiter anymore. You also utilize our services to add value to try and fix the problems of your client. So if your client's asking you, oh, look, you can find us candidates, but when you're having your BD calls or your chats with them, what else is in your business at this moment in time that's causing you a headache or a cost?
Mm-hmm.
We're using SupplyIN2 as an extension of your business. You've all of a sudden became something different.
So you're almost sort of white labeling your product in a sense to be able to add value.
Yeah.
Well, how often? How long can it just be the two of you, right? There's only so much of you to go around.
Good question.
And there's not. Let's be honest, right? There's not another Chester sat somewhere with 20 years experience that'll be like, yeah, I'll come and do that.
Why not? Because
he's unique.
Yeah, but no. But that's and it's not an advert for people that maybe are out there. But I'm interested in speaking to people that don't want, as Chester likes to say, the corporate bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
Who wants to be in business in their own right, who wants to be an entrepreneur, come and franchise my business. I'll invest in you to get you up and running and get you going. There's a whole host of recruiters out there geographically. If you live in London, there's probably 10,000 recruiters that you could target and you can go and fix them. Make your own stamp in life and make your own, and I'll support you. Piggyback on my brand. So this is my model. I want to franchise this model out to entrepreneurs.
That's the long-term plan.
That's the long term.
That was one of the reasons why, look, I had the opportunity to join some corps, and I might be shooting myself in the foot here, but I just couldn't take the bullshit anymore. I couldn't take the micromanagement. I've reached that stage in my life. If I don't know what I'm doing now, give up. All right. So
I think what it wrong.
And so the chance to join Adam, what, 10, has it been 10, 11 months, something like that? Yeah. When you understand what we're doing, there's real value there. Yeah. Because we're not just an organization that say, take it or leave it. We project manage it from the beginning to the end. And my personal name is attached to that. So I take that verse, as Adam knows. If I'm going to do a job, I'm going to do it well. So that's it.
Can I challenge just slightly?
Yeah, cool.
So looking at, just scroll down just a little bit for me. Right. So looking at kind of your offering and stuff, right? If I want a invoice discounting or look at my invoice factoring model, I would go to a broker or somebody that's really specializing in that game, right? Inch wide, mile deep. I'd go to Simon J, for example.
Yeah.
If I want marketing, I'd go to Robert Woodford. If I want legal and compliance, I'm calling Barry Cullen. Like, there's already people that are very, very good at just one particular part of what it is that you guys are offering, right? So how do you deal with that as a challenge then? Is that a fair criticism to say? No,
it's not.
Are you spreading, because there is just the two of you, and are you spreading yourselves far too thin then by covering as much as you possibly can?
All of those you've just mentioned are part of our portfolio, and commercially, we don't necessarily have to have an arrangement with those individuals. If we know their reputation and they know they do a good job and they have the capacity to fulfill it, then why wouldn't we introduce experts that are
Right,
out
okay,
there?
fine.
that
So
we
you're
know-
happy to recommend or go through kind of a broker or somebody that you're like, no, this person can deliver
Correct.
on this.
We want the recruiter to get the best service and the best value.
Yeah.
And we don't this isn't a commercial gain for us. This is more about solving those problems and making their lives a lot easier so they can focus on the job in hand, which is what we mentioned earlier, retaining customers.
How did
and
that
stuff.
start then? So you've obviously come from. Did you say you came from a recruitment and a SaaS background and all that sort of stuff? So how did Into become a thing then? What?
So I was back in 2008, never a recruiter, but I worked for I built an umbrella business effectively.
Are you allowed to name them?
They were called the RACS Group.
Okay.
And we were primarily in the public sector, mainly teachers, medical healthcare sector.
Mm-hmm.
When I joined them, we were 12 staff in Sleepy, Warminster in Wiltshire, payrolling about 400 teachers a week. When I left them, we were up to around 10,000 a week. And I got us onto PSLs like Randstad, Capita, Pertemps, and some of the bigger recruitment education players. And we became a household brand because I'm very good at building a brand, making a brand, a household brand in the market. And my reputation has been known for achieving that.
Mm-hmm.
So whilst I was doing that, I noticed that umbrellas, again, why just be an umbrella company? Like I mentioned before, why are you just a recruiter? Because yes, that's what you do. But you could add
there's cross channels.
There's other things in your business that you could add value.
Yeah.
So what I saw was that umbrellas, because when they removed travel and subsistence as the real benefit of utilising an umbrella, what else could they add? So they started going to Pertbox and anytime wages to try and do advances, to try and retain these contractors to come on board. So then I really spotted in the pandemic that nobody was out there doing the full service variable cost model. So I built a brand, as I'm very known and good at, and built a small website to extend it and build it out. But I made myself look 20 headcount business, but it was me in a back bedroom. You know, and as we all do when we start our businesses, you try and make yourself look a bigger.
Why did you? Yeah, why? No, because we didn't do that. We intentionally didn't do that because we called bullshit on that sort of stuff very quickly. I saw a post the other day, and they're a good business. We have actually engaged with them on a CRM project that we're doing on the side, but their marketing manager and their actual career, their sort of LinkedIn page were like, "Oh, we've just expanded. We've just opened our office in New York." And I went, watch this. And BB will remember, because I literally copied it into Google and it was like, it's a fucking service office.
Yeah.
And he's put a video out of him walking onto a balcony and looking out at New York. And I can tell you now, you're not in fucking New York. Like, you're in a serviced office.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to find that information out. Why go through? Why try and do that kind of? I think I'm a 50-person business. Yeah, you're just not.
Yeah. I agree with certain sectors and certain businesses that shouldn't do that. What I was trying to do is like the umbrella world. I was competing, don't forget, RACs with giants, JSAs, parasols that had large offices, large reputations. So the only way you could compete with them was to make the recruiter feel as though that you were on a similar level.
Yeah.
But remember, this was a brand new concept. What I was trying to attract was the Chesters of the world who wanted to come on the journey.
So you catfished him.
I
don't know.
You fell for it. 20 years in big corporate, you fell for it.
Chester was a competitor of mine when he was at Danbro. So one thing I learned in my career is that if you spot somebody that you know can really add value to your business, you're going to stay in touch with them, and everybody does that. And I've obviously connected to quite a lot of people out there in the industry that I respect very highly. And I only surround myself with those individuals that I know is going to sort of be on a similar message and journey that we're going to take this. So the SupplyIN2 brand is still in its conception only 3 years old. A lot of recruitment owners that I've dealt with in the past have said, where were you 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah.
I would have loved to have had this when I went through this process. And Chester's getting this on a regular basis as well.
Now.
So did I miss the boat? No.
No, the answer to that is give it time. You'll need me again.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So,
it doesn't
the,
go away.
the new SME that's just gone through the startup phase is going to need us tomorrow.
Well, there's 8,000 or 9,000 new recruitment businesses open last year, and that's only increasing. We were talking about this the other day, actually, in terms of attracting talent to a recruitment business. It's getting more and more challenging because there's nearly 10,000 good recruiters who have now left employment.
Yeah.
And they've gone and set up on their own. So
That's
actually,
right. Yeah.
there's
And that's-
10,000 less
this
people
is
for us
it.
to hire now.
Yeah.
We've considered, like, is that the new model, right?
Yeah.
Do we change?
Boutique.
Do we change our recruitment business model from come and work for us to
Franchise.
we'll invest in you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've got the clients,
Yeah.
we've got the database, we've got the candidate, we've got the infrastructure.
That's right.
We will salary you for a period of time and help you boost you and get you out there. But then again, that's a competitive market because that investor startup market.
yeah.
I mean, we've got how many on RecTools at the minute in investor and startup? Over 25.
Well, people that we know ourselves. I
I mean,
mean, look, we got poached like year one, I think, of us starting with like James Khan's recruitment
That's
entrepreneurship.
right.
So they came to us and we met with them twice on two separate occasions because they were like, oh look, you're now a little bit further on. How about it? And we rejected it both times because at the time, I mean, me and Nitin, we are 100% shareholders.
Yeah.
So we just our own skin in the game, our own money, like everything was ours, right? And for us, it just wasn't the right model. But the proposition, if we'd have met with them before we'd have set up, if they'd have called us,
gone with them.
or if we'd have gone on our own.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said for and this is probably a bit of advice for recruiters sat in those big businesses, looking to do it on their own. Having a business partner and having somebody on board that is like-minded, is just as well, just as skilled, but also is completely different in terms of how you operate. It makes that jump so much easier than to do it on. I mean, we've had it when it was just the two of us, and I'd go out on holiday and I'd come back and he'd be like, mate, it's been the shittest week of my life. I've sat here watching YouTube videos all day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh man, I wouldn't do that. And then he goes on holiday for a week and I'm just like, I'm going to test drive a car.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it. It's hard to stay motivated.
Yeah.
But okay,
being an entrepreneur on your own is
tough.
challenging.
It's tough, which is
when
why you.
And when I joined,
Catfished
when I joined Adam, he'd been doing this gig by himself, and I've said to
We
him,
had 50 staff,
"How
offices in
How
New
you-
York and Tokyo.
how on earth you did this by yourself? I'll never know." You got to remember as well, the administration, the project management, the demonstrations, the visits, the follow up, the holding the hand. It takes a lot of energy and time.
Yeah.
We've won recently 4 or 5 new projects. They start at 8 and finishes at 9.
And in between that, you've got to do all your business stuff.
Exactly.
Never mind.
That's only an hour a day, though, to be fair. It's a pretty short week.
8 a.m., 9 p.m. And then, we've got
I was like, hang on a minute.
we've got our retained business that we've got to service as well.
Yeah.
So,
So going back to Nitin's question then, so how are we then? So if I'm a recruiter listening to this now, thinking, God, are they going to have time for me? Like, what are you guys going to do?
So I've invested in more people.
Yeah.
So we've got a lady joining us is going to be doing 2 days a week to take off that pressure of the admin stuff, which we have to do.
That takes a lot of it.
The day-to-day stuff that we know that's only going to increase and grow. I am looking to perhaps hire a couple of other Chesters just to see who's out there, just to see if there's an appetite for somebody to come on board on this journey. So we are at full tilt in terms of capacity, but we have a lot more to give and a lot more to add value. I want it to become that household name and brand where we become that outsourced procurement facilitator, so the recruiter doesn't have to think about it anymore. So
so it must be a case of we need to do CRM. Let's go and speak to the SupplyIN2 guys.
Exactly. Yeah. And CRM is just one of the things that we do.
but it's the one that I think people will relate to the most, right?
Yeah.
It's outside of certainly on RecTools, it's the most popular category. It's within outside of now the blog writer and the job.
What about legal? What about legal and governance?
People stay clear of it, and I'll tell you why. A lot of our market on RecTools are kind of individual business owners up to sort of 5 or 6 people, right? Still very much in that kind of incubator startup phase. I think that part tends to be looked after by the investor or the incubator company that set them up, and or the back office. Like it's not what they do, but it's a kind of a value add, right? Like websites. When we first set up through the incubator we used, they offered to make us a website, and at the time we're like, "Yeah, okay," like didn't really care. I mean, how many visits is a 2-person startup in Coventry going to get, right? But then as you grow, obviously it becomes an issue. I mean, we've gone through that journey recently where we've looked at kind of onboarding contracts for our staff, whilst also looking at kind of our contractor terms and our perm terms. But we've managed that ourselves, right? But again, there's 2 of us. So when I take my eye off the ball from the billing side of things or the management side of things, I know that Sean's still looking at that, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a massive difference as well, though, isn't it? Is that Nitin and I, we complement each other in so many different ways, where I can do certain tasks that Nitin just doesn't enjoy, and the same the other way around. Nitin will do loads of these tasks that I just simply don't enjoy. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? We know kind of where our skills and our strengths are.
Same as Chester and I.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very much the contract focused business development, brand building, you know, I suppose the good bits. And Chester likes to do the sort of the day to day, but, you know, brings me down to earth in terms of the fact, you know, hang on.
I'm going to cut that bit where it says brings me down.
I'm
going to keep sending it.
No.
Chester brings me down.
Adam will run at 100 mile an hour sometimes in the right way. And I go, stop. Let's think. What's the pros? What's the cons? What can go wrong? And I talk to Adam when I do my wife. So, you know what I mean? So it's a good relationship whereby we pull each other up. There's mutual respect. And we're not afraid to speak our minds. And I think that's the key thing when you start something like this.
A lot of business owners, especially in a partnership, they don't have board meetings, but like not actual, let's sit in front of a table and write down what we discussed today, but actual board
stop
meetings.
Doing what you're doing and sit down and actually discuss
review,
strategy.
strategize, and just think what we do.
Air out concerns, complaints,
we'll shoot Paul here for sort of half an hour, 40 minutes at a time, where we're just like, right, what about this? What about this? What are we going to do about this person?
It's into a couple of hours at times. Right?
Sometimes it does.
Sometimes
you need that. You need that.
You've got to get your ideas run past each other. It's the ideas that actually make the business a success, because of the fact that I'll go off and run with an idea, but I'll always say to Chester, look, I just want to run this past you, see what you think before I even then go into it.
Sounding board, or actually the fact that you value his criticism as well.
Absolutely. You know, I think the business wouldn't be where it was because I was either going to merge with another business, I'll be truthful, if Chester hadn't come on board.
Interesting.
Because what I was going to do was, you know, perhaps an umbrella company, and say to that umbrella company, and Workwell have just done this, by the way, through acquisition. So Workwell have now got Workwell outsourcing, Workwell. So what they've done is they've bought recruitment, other umbrellas that might have a pay and bill system that they've got. So what they're going into their recruiters and saying, you want to be using our Evertime pay and bill system rather than your Merits and ETZs and other pay and bill systems that are out there. The difficulty with that is that they're trying to shove it down their recruiters' necks by saying, "Well, we do your umbrella. We bought a CRM, use that.
But you got to justify
we bought a pay and bill, use that."
Yeah.
That's not consultative.
No.
Again, that's going back to the old methodologies of, you know, you've got to be a bit more consultative on how that solution is going to fit your business.
You've got to fix a problem, right?
Yeah.
The whole point of sales is you need to fix a problem.
Exactly.
And if that problem doesn't exist,
not create the problem.
Yeah, this is it though, isn't it? And if you're sitting there trying to create a product, it's like, I know you've got CRM, but here's our great new CRM. It's like, well, no, I really like my CRM. Yeah, no, but here's ours. We can use that.
Yeah, it's not fixing the problem.
No, of course not. What you're doing is you're almost demonstrating that the primary reason for you giving them any business is that CRM rather than the actual umbrella services or the payroll services that they need.
And when you're having these conversations with the business owner, you start off with the CRM, but during your due diligence and your discovery, you find out they've got a whole heap of problems. There's a whole range.
They're not thinking about those problems.
And so when we ask those questions, well, look, how are you funded? Because I've noticed that you got charges on your company. It's not rocket science. It's about taking your time and looking at the business holistically, getting in your helicopter and looking down And sometimes when you're a business owner, you just focus on the here and there.
You ain't got time, have you? Yeah.
And then I started talking, well, what about this? What about that? What about the other? And before you know it, they go, you know what, Chester, I'll have a conversation about, let's fix this problem first. Okay, we'll do that. And then I'll follow up. And before you know it, you've got 3 or 4 or 5 problems with that particular agency that you can solve.
It's still finding out that what do we do? Because people, again, I'm always challenging, do people get it? Do people understand what we actually do? Do they go on our website and say, "Oh, I get it"?
Because we
do that.
Yeah, because we had this conversation, didn't we?
Yeah,
And I was kind of vocal about sort of, I think I kind of get this bit, I get this bit, but it just sort of seems, is it way too much? Is it this? This is where my mindset goes and that kind of thing. And I've got to say, you were both very kind of open to the criticism, and we're certainly sort of like, no, tell us, because the only way we're going to know is by being told.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of businesses aren't like that. They're kind of like, no.
Nobody knows everything. Nobody knows everything. You've got to be open, haven't you?
Well, the amount of times we've had demos and we've gone back to, and Nick and I are very, very honest in our kind of criticisms and our opinions on what works and doesn't work for us, and we'll say it. I mean, we'll call a duck, right? So it's literally just a case of, look, this doesn't work for us because of X, Y, and Z. How many times have we had it where the recipient of that is like, well, you're entitled to your opinion. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so you're not open.
It shows a level of immaturity.
Exactly.
Because, none of us know everything. Yeah. And if you're getting constructive feedback, take it as constructive feedback.
Mm-hmm. And the thing, accept the fact that you're not able to solve everybody's problem.
Exactly.
That's what it comes down to.
You're not selling water, which everybody needs.
Exactly.
You're selling something.
I had a case last week when I had to go back to the agency and say, I'm sorry, I can't solve your problem, because the problem that you want solving is dealing with an old tech CRM, and I cannot get an API plug into it. None of my providers will touch it. Sorry. And they said, fair enough, Chester. Thank you for helping us. Mm-hmm. The next day I get an email, can you help me with this?
Yeah. A new CRM.
And I need a workforce management system.
And we're now becoming inundated. We're having to turn some of the suppliers away because of capacity. And it's not to say that we don't want to work
commercial about it, though, because
but we're looking at the eco. So we're about to sign up Octopus EV.
Octopus Energy,
yeah.
EV.
So they're looking at the renewables and also the electric car vehicles for businesses for sustainability. So I've added that at the bottom of the solutions. So if you scroll down there, you'll see some new ones. We've got a industry CFO that's gone out on his own and becoming independent. So he's now looking
sustainability. There you go.
Looking at your financial costs and your sustainability from a cost financial perspective.
I've just seen an interesting one there, actually. Mergers and acquisitions as well.
Great question.
So put a post that on this. I was going to bring that up to you.
When you're in this world and how well connected that you become, then you start, because of your IP again, and then it's not what you know, it's who you know, you start getting gravitated towards with investment funds that want you to go out there and buy certain industries. So where my head's sort of moving towards in 2023, 2024 is that I am attached to a few large investment groups. I can't say who they are or too much about it, but they're pointing me in the payroll space, but also the recruitment space at certain levels. So I'm now an advisory for some of those investment opportunities to buy payroll companies and buy recruitment businesses, because there's a lot of shift in this market, and it's, again, consolidation and acquisition, I think, is going to be the next 3 to 5 years, because people, not just saying they're going to struggle, but they're going to have to look at their cost.
It's not sustainable to have between 7,000 and 10,000 new businesses within one niche recruitment space, industry as an example, to keep opening year on year without that leading to eventually people going, do you know what, I'm going to take a finance specialist, this tech specialist, I'm going to take a specialist based in Glasgow, specialist based in London, I'm going to amalgamate them all into one group, let them carry on doing what they're doing, but we're going to write off the losses here, move some of the cost over here, use this for the cost base, and it's financially a lot more sensible, because at the end of the day, let's not lose sight of the fact that these people going in who are setting up these businesses are great recruiters. That doesn't mean they're great business owners.
Correct.
Doesn't mean that they are savvy with what's out there. I mean, I remember literally asking our accountant on like day 3, so how do we pay ourselves? And he was like, well, you just pay yourself whatever you want. I was like, yeah, no, that's fine. But like, are you going to do my
do you get pay slip? How does it work?
Like, yeah. And he was like, no, you move the money from your fucking bank. And I was like, all right. I just go in and take it. And he was like, yes. And I'll account for it later. But up until that point, we hadn't thought about just something as simple as, how do we pay ourselves? Like, do we have to ask permission?
Yeah.
And then, and then before you know it, you're like, uh-oh.
Took too much out this one. Oh, God.
So that's interesting, actually, because if we are looking at, because I suppose the candidate market, in a sense, is, or the talent market certainly is, very entrepreneurial at the minute, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I suppose, why you've moved your kind of model to a franchise model. We've got like 8,000-9,000 new business being set up. So really, the mergers and acquisition space then is going to be something that's going to be a big thing for you over the next few years.
Absolutely, because SupplyIN2 is still my brainchild. It's my baby.
Mm-hmm.
Chester's really grabbed hold of it and run with it and making it his own, taking on some support to support him. And I've said to him, find other Chesters, because I happily invest in them, because that procurement model, it will exist. It's sustainable enough to exist. I'm going into the more sort of investment funds and looking after them, building their portfolios, speaking to business owners like your good selves and anyone else that's out there that's interested in having a conversation. I dipped my toe in the water last week and I don't mind sharing it with you. I've probably got 10 or 15 conversations going. Some will probably fall off, but some of them will actually be quite more serious.
It's nothing more. It's a
planting the seed, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, you're planting the seed, absolutely, because it starts off as a curiosity thing, doesn't it? Because you have people like us, and we've been through that journey where you jump in, you set up your own recruitment business because you're like, I'm not making them £500,000 a year anymore. I'm going to make it myself. You realise how hard it is, and you keep chugging along. But at no point are you sort of like, what's my end goal here? How long do I do this for? And
you lose sight of it, don't you?
Yeah.
So sorry to interrupt, but what's stopping us? Helping you save cost, get a true value for return in your investment, making your business ready to exit.
Yeah.
So my journey,
build an exit strategy.
Correct.
Look at your entire cost and go, guys, no one's buying this because you're wasting money here, and here.
And your due diligence.
And you don't even know that these 6 things that you're paying for, this one item does that.
Exactly.
One piece of kit
when it comes to
that.
valuation, when they do due diligence on you, you need these contracts in place that are watertight.
Yeah.
So the model is effectively trying to make you attractive to an exit buyer when you come to exit on the day that you're coming. So if we can grab that SME market now, make them cost effective through the sort of variable cost model,
and then
that makes me you and me and having another conversation for investment.
It's also good business practice, isn't it? A lot of SMEs do not have good business practices.
No, because they just go on day
They just
to day.
go on the front.
And it's like, I'll think about this another time. I've just got to get through this week.
Exactly.
This month, this
our
year.
strategy was always different because we've come from Michael Page, so obviously big business, and they were so driven by supplier agreements. They were like, no. Any client you work with, get a PSL. Get a PSL. Whether it was your small manufacturing business who's only got one finance person in the team, or whether it was your JLRs and National Grids of the world, right? It was like, get PSLs, get PSL agreements in every single time. And the problem is, a recruiter, and we've certainly worked with them, and actually we've probably been victim to it ourselves. We were like, no, look, if I put a PSL in front of my client, it's going to scare them off. Or if I do this in front of my client, or they'll have a small manufacturing business or a small engineering business or something where they can just churn a load of numbers and nothing official is in place. And in the recruiter's head, it's like, oh, well, actually, I've got this cash cow here that I'm going to be making loads and loads of money off. But that tap could turn off like that.
Yes, you can.
It could, in an instant. And they could use another agency in an instant. Yeah. You could be on holiday, your cover just doesn't do a good enough job. Yeah. And before you know it, you've lost the account.
Yeah.
It's also not knowing about like how certain things are valued. Yeah. Right? I had a conversation the other day with somebody who's done a lot of exiting, scaling businesses, mergers, acquisitions and stuff. And we were just chatting away. And I was like, we've got this really like painful account. It's a volume account. It's through an RPO. Like, it's just, honestly, it's just service. And he was like, that shoots up your multiples.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? It's a pain in the ass. He was like, doesn't matter. They're key account managing it. They've won the business.
It's fixed. Yeah.
They've overcommitted to what they can do, and therefore they have to use you and a range of others. That contract itself will boost the value of like what your overall proposition is.
Yeah.
And I was like, never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I've thought of it from the operational point of view.
It's a
this is just
nightmare.
a pain in the arse account.
Yeah.
Whereas actually the reality is, if you're a business owner out there that's trying to think about how do I individually grow and scale my business, there's other solutions to just being like, I need to grow my business to a 50 million turnover business.
A lot of people think
if you're turning over 10 million and it's making you 30% profit, 20% profit, why would you sell that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, don't look at kind of what's out there. But then this is where
The value
specialists and people that have been in the game long enough come in, where you go, actually, I need somebody I can go to and confidentially have a chat.
Exactly.
A lot of people think that growth is literally just I have to be super profitable, have to have massive turnover, and I have to have 100 staff. And unless I'm there, I'm not in a position where I can sell.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can sell one person businesses. Like you can have a single owner managed like
with a couple of large contracts,
just based on the contracts alone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, it's
So on that one, when you get a buyer for RecTalk, feel free to approach us.
absolutely.
If
Yeah.
anyone wants to buy the #1 recruitment podcast in
Look,
Coventry by some metric,
you guys are making some noise. We want to come on that journey, and ultimately, if we can build brands together, then
absolutely.
Well, I think this is a big thing, isn't it? A lot of people in the business world are scared to collaborate. Like we speak to,
Especially in recruitment, people just don't seem to
that
trust each other.
frustrates me
Right?
so
And we had this
But that's that
conversation when we
corporate
first
background.
met. Yeah,
We had that
we're
conversation.
We're literally programmed to dislike anybody else who
The
isn't in the same team colours
small-mindedness
kind of thing.
of some recruiters, the
Mhm.
small-mindedness of some recruitment business owners really drives me balmy.
Yeah.
There is enough business out there to collaborate effectively.
That's right. Yeah.
well, that's
Be
the
grown
easiest,
up and have a conversation.
the
That's all it
easiest way
is.
to get rid of a competitor is to collaborate with them, right? That's it, right? And you are no longer a competitor, right? You're a collaborator. So we have it. We've got great relationships with some recruitment businesses around kind of the Midlands. Some of them will come on our podcast with us. Some we talk to on a regular basis.
Darren Rebel, we're in the website building space. He's like fantastic at building websites, and we've kind of gone, no, look, you're really good at what you do. The building website stuff that we do, the rec dev stuff that we do, is aimed at a different market to what yours is.
There you go.
And also, it's a side project for us, whereas it's your main income. Like, do you know what I mean? We don't want to step on that, and that's not our kind of focus. The whole idea behind kind of the rec projects we've got with RecTalk, RecDev, and RecTools is just be better. You know what I mean? Just be better.
Yeah.
There's
Improving the industry.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
room
different
to
layers.
be better in this industry. Just do it. Or go. Because I'm sick and tired of the recruiter bashing on LinkedIn and the constant, recruiters are. We can change that. In the industry, we can change that. But we just don't seem to want to or be asked to.
There are some new interesting developments that are happening in the recruitment world. Indeed, as we know, has existed for quite a while now.
Yeah.
But what's stopping some sort of tech engagement platforms to come into the market, which completely takes the human side out, but it takes it puts the onus and the power back into the candidate's hand. So there are some things that I'm involved in that could develop that world out and build that world out.
There are some things coming out from the recruiters at Michael Sharma Group too that might be addressing that problem a little bit.
So recruiters the traditional recruiter needs to be careful. I think you are all trying your best to compete in a very, I would say, a market that's very competitive, but also
hugely saturated.
You're starting to annoy your clients and annoy your customers,
and that's exactly right.
That's the problem.
There's
where
no
I think
value add.
recruiters have had the bad reputation because you're starting to annoy those people that you've done.
The people who you call customers and you expect to pay your bills. Yeah.
But Nitin, you said the recruitment bashing. Isn't it up to the industry to push back on that and tell good stories? Because I know some fantastic recruitment businesses out there, right? But what we do, it's like the bad guy always wins.
Yeah, because
switch it round.
Well, because
I suppose
bad news.
No, but on that
bad
though,
news is more fun to read.
Yeah,
like, listen, I could put out there how, and you'll notice we intentionally don't do this. We never ever brag about, oh, we've just hit 1 million turnover. Oh, we've just done this. We've just done that. The last thing we bragged about was hitting 500 followers on RecTools, and that was probably the first time in like 3 years that we've ever put a braggy type of thing out. Because no one cares. I could put something out about, and I did last night. I put something out about Matt Hancock, and that was on a 10 o'clock on a Sunday, and that did really, really, really well compared to me putting out like, oh, we've got such and such a guest coming on our podcast. No one cares about successes. No one like.
I disagree with you. I disagree that no one cares about successes. I have to disagree.
I think the masses don't care about successes.
Yeah, change the narrative.
It's more nosy.
Change the narrative. It's up to us to change the narrative.
I think I half agree with what Nick's saying. And I think the issue is you've had these entrepreneurs, and I'll put it in inverted commas because they're far from it, going down the route of like, oh, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, hit the gym 7 times, and then I walked my dog, and then I did this.
Do you think that's real?
But the point is though,
I'll call you at 5 o'clock in the morning to see if you're awake.
Excuse me, it's bullshit.
Of course it is, right? But the problem is that has now tainted an image painted an image for anybody who tries to brag about their own success. Because the minute you brag about your own success, it's like, here's
another one.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas actually, what we need to be doing is encouraging people who've interacted with us to shout about how good the experience has been.
Exactly.
Because that will change the narrative.
Yeah.
The people that are recruitment bashing, they're the ones that we need to target to say, no.
Testimonials, case studies.
So we do an NPS. We don't broadcast our NPS. It's very good, over 80% positive.
Good.
But we do an NPS for our candidates and our clients. You'll never see us talk about it on LinkedIn because that's not what we're doing it for. We're doing it so that we can be better, right? We need to know if our guys aren't delivering what they're saying they're delivering, or if our customers are unhappy. Because our customers are both our candidates and our clients, right?
That's the most important.
Exactly. Yeah. And I would hazard a guess that maybe less than 10% of our industry actually ever voluntarily ask their customers for feedback or put an NPS out to say, how are we doing, guys?
Certainly when we've been in big corporate, we've never had a customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction.
Do you not ask those questions when you...
Well, we weren't encouraged to.
Okay.
Certainly weren't encouraged to.
Unless you knew that you had somebody who had outstanding experience who could say, and even then it used to be like, oh, you've been really happy with what I've done. I got you a 10k pay rise in the business that you wanted and all blah, 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 right? Can you give me a LinkedIn testimonial? And then you send them the link, say, can you chuck a little testimonial on there for me? And that was encouraged. Whereas there's nothing to say.
I mean, look, we've been doing this for nearly 6 years and we've only got 17 reviews on our Google. And I mean, that's still good because they're all 5 stars. But, and we've never gone out of our way to ask for it.
I think recruiters need to be doing more of that. And a classic example is that I've got a Jag and I put my car in for a service. After I got the service done, I had a phone call saying, how was your experience? How did it go? What's stopping a recruiter phoning up the recruitment who's engaged and saying, how was our process? What did you think of the candidate and the candidate process, the actual experience? Because if they give you some negatives, you can build on that.
When I was at,
but they would appreciate that call. I appreciated that call.
When I was on the tools doing the recruitment day, that's what we did. We did that. It was part of our welfare package. That's good recruitment. But what we don't do is talk about it. This is many, many years ago. The consultants had to ring the client, get the feedback, what was good, bad, and it's discussed in the weekly team meeting. That's what should happen.
Yeah.
But
it's looking for ongoing. But do you know again? It's programmed in that you fill a job. Move on to the next. Fill a job. Move on to the next. And we were talking about this with a podcast recently, where it's like, look, these big corporates, and eventually the good consultants from the big corporates then go on to set up on their own, and they have that same mindset. But the big corporates will have a process of literally just churning through vacancy after vacancy. It's a machine. It's a big machine that is a vacancy filling machine, effectively, right? And the issue you've got is
on seats.
Of course, it is. There's no room for let's improve ourselves.
Yeah, I'll make a bold statement. I don't think there's a outside of recruitment as well, but I don't think there's a FTSE listed business anywhere that actually gives a shit about anything other than performance. You don't become a FTSE listed business without being a production factory, a head down, sell. That do you know what I mean? I'd like to be challenged on it.
No, it's like the software tech world. They only want more customers because it feeds the shareholding.
That's it.
The value is completely gone. Whether it works or it doesn't work,
but that's what
they just need another customer and another customer and
shareholder
another customer.
Value. That's the big thing, right? Everybody at the moment is just working towards, let me get X amount of users onto my product. Let me get X amount of customers into. Let me get X amount of PSL signed up, because that ultimately will increase my value. And we're living in a time now where it's about to become a millionaire is so achievable in today's world. I mean, today's billionaires are like the last few decades millionaires, where it's like, oh, I'd love to be a millionaire. Now, a millionaire is so achievable. A millionaire in today's world is a 6-figure salary 10, 20 years ago, right?
Yes.
And billionaires are the things like, oh, that would be the dream. Like that's if I got
being a millionaire ain't enough anymore.
No,
of course not. And
that's why Dubai is still growing and opulent and expanding, and everybody's looking to set up office over there, and because that is the dream. The dream is to be in Dubai, and that's where the trillionaires and billionaires are residing.
Nearly every business, and you guys will have a look at, especially going through your mergers and acquisitions piece as well. But all you'll see is just, how do I walk away and have this much money left at the end of it? I want to be able to do this, scale it, and walk away. And
but if they've built it and they've grown it and they've looked after their staff and they've done their corporate social responsibility and they've done the sustainability, nothing wrong with that. So I have to kick back and say it's all about shareholder value. Yes, it is, but there's a load of other stuff coming down the track that you're going to meet. CSR is a big thing. DE&I is a big thing. All these sort of things now are on shareholders' corporate reports. They've got to report on. It's not just about the money.
ESG is another big one, though, isn't it? ESG is a huge one going on to the increase the shareholder value and stuff like that.
So there's lots going on.
Yeah,
and we want the SME to be successful. That's why that's our sweet spot. We want them to grow. We want them to be cost effective. We want them to be sustainable, and we want them to be building out their procurement in terms of a way that they've never thought or had to think about it before.
Yeah,
because that is the biggest, perhaps, ball ache of a recruitment owner to have to deal with, and that's why they delegate it to somebody else to take that responsibility on, and they'll have a weekly meeting or a monthly meeting to say, why isn't it working? What's the problems? And they have to feedback a list of questions. So let's take that away. That's the whole point of this.
Well, it's the exact same principle in terms of the recruitment world, isn't it? Like a hiring manager, can they recruit for themselves? Absolutely. Can they jump onto Indeed or CV Library or wherever and take the candidates? Of course they can. Do they want to? And have they got time to and capacity to? And are they the experts in that field? No, they're not. So if
that's the answer to why do any outsourcing like provider exists, right? Same with payroll, same with finance, same with accountancy. All right. So how do people find you?
So ultimately, look, we're very visible on LinkedIn. We're very visible at attaching ourselves to events, and we are sponsoring some large opportunities and events that are coming. But ultimately, we're found through recommendation, and we're found through delivering a good service and a good opportunity. So we're building out this recommendation solution, really, I think, in terms of testimonial, which is why people are finding us. But look, it's something new, something people haven't really considered or thought about, but they join these groups to think that the partners and service providers that are attached to them are the best solution for their business because they're selling to them all the time. We don't like to sell, we just like to consult. So that's the best way to find us, really. Come to us directly or ask someone who's used us already.
Cool. Right. So that's SupplyIN2.co.uk. I mean, Tristan's got your contact form up there. Free procurement audit. You've got your email addresses on there. Telephone numbers on there. So yeah, clearly.
And to be fair, Adam and Jesse, you guys are quite active on LinkedIn anyway, aren't you? And
you're open to connecting with everybody and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so there
definitely.
You go. No, I appreciate it. Well, look, thank you so much for taking time to come out and see us today.
Fun.
Don't be strangers. Make sure you come down again.
Yeah, we will. No,
we'll beat you at pool next time.
We're keeping an avid eye on what's going on in your worlds and as well as our worlds. And
I think
RecTools has its place. We will mention the fact that RecTools is going to be a great place to go and vet and check and get a sort of an opinion of what is out there. What we want to become is an extension of that, to get to come to us for that second opinion and also to sort of work together for that recruiter that needs help. You know, so
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
it's more of a supportive role and a recommendation role. You know, that we're interested in speaking to your customers that way.
Well, look, for all things procurement or recruitment procurement, then Adam and Jess are the guys to see.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
that.
No
We're the
problem.
only ones.
Cheers.
Thanks very much,
Thank
guys.
you.
Cheers,
Cheers.
guys.
You guys.
Loved it.
Bye.
Yeah, good stuff.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Awesome. No, I really enjoyed it.
Good, man.
It flowed really well, didn't it?
It does. A lot of people, you often